I can write a book about my life here on Lanai. Lanai is to me, is a wonderful place to live because I think I spent the best years of my life here on Lanai. The people are so friendly. Where can you go in this world today that while you're walking down the street, every car that passed by would wave at you?
My name is Noboru Oyama. I was born on January 16, 1922, Waluku, Maui. Came to Lanai in February of 1925.
My full name is Setsuyo Takahama, and I've been nicknamed Sally by the doctors that I worked for because the nurses had a difficult time pronouncing it.
Yes.
So I was christened with holy water, like you said, the distilled water. And I've been named since then as Sally.
My name is, my first name is Fusai, and Alice is my given name.
Yes.
And my maiden name was Honda, Honda. And then I married Masao Nobue. I was born March 1st, 1917.
Oh my.
So I'm 93 years old.
Auntie.
Namotsu Takahama, born November 18, 1926, Lanai City, Lanai.
Wow. You must have been one of the early babies born on Lana'i, I think.
I guess so.
Oh, my name is Genji Miyamoto.
Aye.
Yeah.
When were you born?
Oh, February 19, 1926
And where?
in Lahaina.
Toshiko and Larry
Uh-huh.
here.
Aye. What was your maiden name before you got married?
Okama.
Okama. Ah. Were you born on Lana'i?
No.
Where were you born?
Lahaina.
My name is Kosei Higa. I was born on Molokai in March 28, 1926. After my birth, my parents moved to Lanai. So my brothers and sisters that are younger than I am were all born on Lanai.
It was at the Great Depression. So my father in Honolulu was a carpenter, and the construction business was very bad. He had a friend, some friend of his had a son, no, daughter living on Lanai on a plantation. The husband was a supervisor or something. They said, oh yeah, tell them if they move to Lanai, we'll do something for them.
I came here in 1946, yeah, in June 1946. And I figured, better condition, working condition here than sugarcane.
Was the pay better as well on Lana'i, or?
Oh yes, much better. We cannot compare sugarcane and pineapple.
Do you remember how old you were when you came to Lana'i?
I was 2.
Ah, so 1926 basically. The plantation was just opening up?
Yeah.
Yes, wow.
I really don't know what my father was involved in Molokai, but I presume he was in agriculture. But it wasn't that profitable, so he moved the entire family over to Lanai. And on Lanai, he was considered a luna. A luna is a boss of so many workers.
Tell me about a typical day when you were young. What was it like? You got to get up, go what?
Of course, we have to get up early and then go to walk up there with all the kids. You know, we used to join all the children and we used to walk up to school and then we used to go to Japanese school after.
And where was the Japanese school?
The Japanese school was, you see, under the Union Church, under there was the Japanese church, and on top was the Buddhist church.
So you had to walk from home
to
down by Stable Camp, Block
That's
19,
right, stable camp,
up to Ko'ele.
Koile for school, barefoot,
Wow.
no shoes.
Yeah.
The only time we wore short shoes was on May Day program. And they were very uncomfortable.
You know, she was saying that when she used to go to school up there by the golf course, Cavendish, I used to go up there too. I was older than her, but barefooted. And you know what? Going up there, you know the line of trees? There's a road when they're walking barefoot. The earthworms coming up, loaded. Then we're gonna tiptoe on up.
At school, I wasn't the intellectual type, I was just the average student. I liked my sports, so I used to go out for baseball, basketball, football. We didn't have a regular football, we had barefoot football. The only reason why I liked my sport was because we get to travel to different islands to compete. And that really turned me on, and that's why I was out for sports.
And those teachers were mean those days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, me and my friend, we eating underneath the mat, the Japanese mat, cover ourselves. And we're giggling now. You know that ruler, that quarter-inch ruler on the lake we taught last night? If you swear, come here, boy. Soap in the mouth. So we behave ourselves. I am a good boy.
We had one teacher all day long, no changing of subjects, except if the teachers wanted to change the subject. Of course, we learned geography, arithmetic. History was hardly taught, Physical education was non-existent at that time. Of course, the teachers were very strict. Oh my goodness. They had the right to spank you, not like today. Yeah. Some of my teachers would go to jail if their conduct were like in the 20s and 30s.
We didn't have high school in this island. They couldn't afford a school here, so we just had to drop out or go to Lahaina or go to Honolulu. But my parents couldn't afford to put us in a boarding school or anything. Yeah.
The Japanese school was set up at the temple, Buddhist temple. And being Japanese, it was embarrassing if you didn't go to Japanese school.
I don't think they had kindergarten. We started from first grade. So we had to get up there, to the school at 6 o'clock in the morning. It starts at 6 for an hour. Then we have to go to English school at 8 o'clock. And then on Saturdays, we didn't have a day off. We had to go back to school, in Japanese school that is, and we had a sewing and whatever craft we needed. And on Sundays, of course, we just have to go to church, regardless, up and early.
And in Japanese school, I did a lot of mischievous things because I just hated Japanese school. All the other people didn't have to attend. But all the Japanese had to attend. We were forced to go to school, on Saturdays especially. And I just hated it. So I was Mr. Trouble in Japanese school, really. But school was fun to me because all the people were so nice. My classmates, we all got together. We hardly had any fights.
The original Hongwanji was built by volunteer carpenters, mostly Japanese people, built in 1925. Almost all of the population, Japanese population on Lanai were Buddhist members.
When the Japanese school was there underneath the church, I was when I started to act it must have been about 10 or 11, and there was this family called the Kodanis. They were very talented, and of course he had relatives like the Ryus and Yamadas, but Mr. Kodani was the official entertainer there, and he asked me to dance because I know because my family had so many girls, and so I danced. I think about 10, and we would dance. And his wife and auntie used to teach us all these Japanese dances, and they furnished us with the kimonos. And we went once to Maui on the Na'ia. Oh, I got sick so badly. But then we entertained there, and then of course we have like Japanese, the Emperor's birthday and all that. And we had this shibai.
So see, when we grew up,
Hmm.
we all thought shibai meant kind of like
Oh,
gulai.
yes, right.
But so tell me, what was the shibai? It was like
A theater.
it was theater.
Hmm.
Now, what did your father do here on Lanai?
Well, before he came to Lanai, I mean, he was in Lahaina, Kiawe camp. Then he came as a carpenter here himself to build the Honganji church on Lanai
Aye,
with some other laborers.
yes.
It's a two-story building now. And I guess they put everything up, the roof and all. And then they built a small little room. It's a Japanese language school. And the church was taken away from us during the war.
Aye.
But every Sunday, we used to go down the beach, swim, and then walk home. But that particular Sunday, I remember vividly, December 7th was a Sunday morning, and we were swimming. And after we got through swimming, we go to the store. And they had a little store down the Kauma Pao, okay, little store. And all these people were around this radio. We didn't have television, just had radio. Then I noticed all these people, evacuating. They live in their houses, some of them going up to the mountain, yeah. Then we found out that war broke out. And so everybody was kind of panicky, But then we settled down after that.
Oh, we had that blackout and we couldn't go out at night. And we have to put the pineapple black, they're planting black paper on the windows so that the lights won't leak out. And we had to ration food. My mother had to wait in line. We were all ration food, so.
What happened on Lanai, and why? What happened with the old Honganji?
It was taken away because, while minister was interned, he was taken to somewhere on the mainland. So the plantation manager said we have to close down the church, and we have to get rid of the altar, the decorations also. So that was all peeled off from the walls, and of course was kept at the old graveyard. And then said no Japanese schools, no churches. Then, of course, we didn't have any church, so we didn't go to church at all. Because my dad, used to say a little prayer at home, and I didn't even participate with any of the other churches.
The U.S. government was very leery about the Bonsans, the preachers. They felt that they were still sympathetic with Japan, and that's why they took them out, and then they sent them over to the relocation camp.
The military confiscated all of our radios, our Japanese language books, and they were stored in somewhere around Pine Island Market. And of course, I knew I had to use from some of these Japanese school materials, so I hid some of my Japanese books. And it sure came in handy when I went in the army. I had to write letters home for myself. And in fact, some of my friends asked me to write letters to their parents for them.
I know the coach's family, the father was concentrated right away, and the mother had to take the three or four or five kids by herself to the concentration camp. And then the youngest, I think the baby, was so cold there that he or she caught cold and passed away at the concentration camp. It was so sad.
We were very strict. We were called Japs and said, you guys better go back to Japan. And we weren't able to speak Japanese at all. And of course, the plantation came and they had some of the marshals that come over they were hired marshals, and they took away our shortwave radios and whatever pictures that indicated that we were Japan. Because my parents had some, like the Japan flags, those little flags, they were taken away.
What were the early businesses right around Dole Park, Lanai City, that you remember as a youth? Who were the people?
The people were all Japanese, The Okamoto store. Yatlang was Chinese. Kido was a restaurant handling school cafeteria food.
Where was Kido?
Kido is now Canoe.
Oh.
And Shimokawa Bakery is now Pineapple. 565 was Fish Market.
Tell me about the store, and if you remember the old man Hirakawa, tofu, like that.
Yes, yes. He used to say where that this and that, no, yeah, this and that, yeah. That was where the tofu shop was.
Ah.
He used to deliver, he used to paddle with a little push wagon so many days a week, I think. Yeah.
No, Hirakawa man had a push wagon, and every day go around the camp, ring the bell. There were another man too selling saimin udon.
Ah.
Yeah,
Who was that?
his name was Shirokawa Ji-san.
Ji-san?
Yeah, Ji-san means old man.
Yeah. Okay, Shirakawa.
Yeah. And we had another man who came from Maui. He was a pineapple grower, and during the Depression, he lost, I think, almost everything. So he came to Lanai to sell pop rice. Okamoto store was next to the fish market. They had general merchandise plus ice making plant there too. 565 was a photo studio.
Really?
Yeah, that building consisted of the photo studio and a drugstore run by Mr. Hasegawa, who was the camp boss on the plantation. And the police station was there, of course.
So like where?
And the theater
Yes.
still exists. And the old theater had a concession run by Mr. and Mrs. Sawada. The present Kathleen Cook real estate office was a barber shop in the front and a pool hall in the back.
Akita?
Akiyama was the barber.
Ah.
And Emerald Jewelry came later, about 1934, somewhere around there. And of course, that laundrette came much later on in the 50s.
Okay. When your house was first built, you folks had community furo.
Community
and could
photo
you- so let's
and
describe-
toilet. In fact, they even had a wash house there, laundry room, and they had this wood burning stove, for the laundry. And of course, one of us have to go early because there were about 8, I think, tubs to wash. So we would go early in the morning, put one of those tubs for our parents to go over and scrub them with hand, no washing machine those days, and then we'd boil this hot water in a tub, and that's where we soak it in there, and then of course we wring and hang it. Then there were clotheslines there too, so we had to do that. And of course the bath that was there was like the women on one side and the men on one side. Of course there were boys speaking underneath and all that.
At one time, my father and my mother took care of the bathroom. The furo is a public bath.
In your
And-
block.
Yeah, in our block. They have to build a fire in time to heat up the water so the workers would have, hot water to bathe in. And we used to do that. And that's a chore. We have to clean the tub after they get through, clean the whole furo and the floors, with brushes and soap, And that was a chore. But we all have to do that to help the entire family. And we're not the only one, because everybody else around the neighborhood was doing the same thing, to provide extra income.
As soon as we get there, of course we undress them, and we're talking to it like, in Japanese now they have like their own saying or the hot bath, and then we just scrub us out talking to the guys, to our friends, and then as soon as we wash them, we would all jump into the tub and star in there for 20 minutes or so, and they get out, we wipe and go out, and and they had a swing outside. So before we go home, we're on that swing. Of course, we get messy again. That was fun days.
Yeah. So all of you had jobs to do even when you were young.
Yeah. And in laundry too. Put water in it and we'll boil the clothes.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll scrub.
Uh-huh. On the washboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the wages were so low, and they did everything to help the family growing up. My mother was so busy. She took on laundry of the single workers, and my sisters all helped out. And then my mother took in boarders that would come in and eat with us, and she would feed them for the little wages that added to the entire income.
Do you remember what was your first job on the plantation?
First time I came here was picking pineapple. Then I went to company shop, help with whatever job the companies need. I used to help help the companies. And then I went to work as a surveying. Yeah.
Ah.
Then for surveying, I went. Then they was looking for someone who in genetics. In genetics, they want someone who know. You have to know agriculture, you know chemistry, so how to fill a qualification. So I had all those training in school.
Wow.
So that's why they called me over to work in the genetics department.
I had a pretty good job when I got out of school, right out of school. I was working at the research center, and that was easy job, not too hard. You're not out in the field, But at one time, these friends of mine used to operate a tractor, the bulldozers, and then I get the field ready for planting. And they tell me, hey, you ought to come to the tractor department. We have a lot of fun, messing around with the tractors. So I quit my job. I applied for the tractor position. And no sooner I applied got the job. Within 1 or 2 months, I got into an accident. And let me tell you, it's so funny because what they did was we have about 5, 6 tractors all piled up at one spot. They gas it up and they maintain it. And next morning we get up, the truck takes us up there, and we jump off the truck, start the small engine, and try to get the big engine started so we can get that bulldozer. Then as soon as you get your bulldozer started, we spun around the others that's trying to get the bulldozer started and give them all the dust, 4 or 5 of them go right around that thing. And mine usually starts right there, starts real fine. And we all have an individual tractor. So we just about know how to start it. So. But then one morning, my tractor wouldn't start. I couldn't get that thing started. The small engine, I can't start it. And so all these guys, 5 guys, get around. They just go round and round and round, giving me all the dust, Oh, but that's what we used to do. Then one morning, that mine didn't start, and these guys weren't satisfied. This one guy didn't satisfy with giving me the dust. So he tried to raise his blade and hit my bulldozer, shake my tractor. But then it just happened that when he moved that blade over, just cleared the tractor, and I was right on the track trying to start the engine. And he cut my foot right here. Yeah, I still have a scar, big scar. I thought I was going to die.
My biggest job, of course, was setting up those fresh fruit operation, which was harvesting, packing, shipping. It was a big job.
Yes.
To do that business, we had to set up a packing plant, and it was an old Quonset hut situated right across the church here. And we had to ship by sizes, pack by sizes and everything. In fact, we had to send or ship certain size pineapple to Japan by Pan American, and this had to be perfect because it was to Japan whom the executive used to use it as gift. And Japanese are pretty strict about quality, you know.
I was hired to work in the plantation offices, not the plantation manager, but one of the superintendents from the department came to the school. I was in my 9th grade, and I looked at my school record, and I was taking more business lessons. So they said that I could do some office work in the plantation department. It was the field maintenance department. So I was there after school and on Saturdays, worked for 8 hours.
Wow.
Well, weekdays, of course, was only for about 3 hours, but on Saturdays was 8 hours. And of course, my pay was 25 cents an hour.
You know that being a mechanic, the first time I applied for a job, this Mr. Koada and Mr. Noboi. Mr. Koada was a superintendent. Mr. Noboi was a foreman, you know, in the automotive shop. He said, Amotsu, what? You're going to go out in the field 1 week, go pick pineapple or, you know, do other kind of work 1 week to try me out if I'm going to quit. So I worked 1 week with the Filipinos, you know, the Filipino gang.
Yeah.
That's the Hawai'i. Then I went in the shop, the automotive section. They get automotive, the small truck, and bigger trucks. So, Pauhana, you know what is Pauhana? The other three mechanics, Mr. Okamoto and Mr. Kutsunai and 2 other ones, they shop all the dirty tools on me. I have to wash the tools in a thinner and, you know, the socket, the mud, everything. With the screwdriver, I take it out there. Then I pile it up each individually. Every day for a couple of weeks I did that. Until I finally, they're trying me out. But that's, I think, to me, I think was kind of discrimination on my part because I didn't have any connection. My parents didn't have any connection with the shop. That's why I took it.
You did hohana in the field.
Yes,
And then did you do picking too?
1 week.
Tell me about
Hand
picking
picking.
pineapple.
I dread it because you know those, you have to, like, we have this sack there and